Good morning. It's the first Sunday of Advent, and the focus this Sunday is hope. Our first reading is from Isaiah 40. Comfort, O comfort my people, says our God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that she has served her term and her penalty is paid, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for her sins. A voice cries out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain will be made low. And even the ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all people will see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Our gospel reading for today is from Luke, the 21st chapter, and we hear from Jesus. And it's during the time of his ministry where he's heading into Jerusalem, where he's already talked about the destruction of the temple, and people are getting very nervous, very upset with what's going on. What does he mean by this? Starting at verse 25. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars on the earth, distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up, raise your hands, because your redemption is near. Then Jesus told them a parable to help them understand what he just said. Look at the fig tree and all trees. As soon as they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves, and you know that summer is already near. So also, when you see these things taking place, you will know that the kingdom of God is near. Truly, I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth could pass away, but my words will not pass away. Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighed down with squandering and drunkenness and the worries of this life, and that day would catch you unexpectedly like a trap. For it will come upon all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that will take place and stand before the Son of God. The word of the Lord. Now, when I hear these words, first of all, my heart does get weighed down. Don't let your heart get weighed down, because it sounds so foreboding, like, what is happening? This sounds awful. Bad things are going to be happening upon the earth. And it does seem a lot like the times we're living in too, right? There's a lot of bad things happening to all of creation, to the people on the earth, conflict, division, sickness. And you can't help but feel that pressed down upon you. This is the first Sunday of Advent, and we talk about hope, right? There's the hope banner. Hope. The candle of hope is lit, and we read those words from Isaiah, and I'd rather hear those words than Luke, right? Comfort, comfort my people. Oh, that sounds much better than hearing these other words. How does that fill us with hope? Why couldn't we hear from Romans? I mean, by hope we're saved. Or Hebrews, by faith. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Or even further on in Isaiah, in that 40th chapter, we hear, for those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They shall mount up like wings of eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not grow faint. Oh, that fills me with great hope. And yet, these words that Jesus speaks to us today about hope tell us about the kingdom of God. That is what we'll hear all throughout Advent this year. We'll hear it from Jesus. We heard it from Jesus today. We'll hear it from Mary in the coming weeks, from John the Baptist, and from Zechariah. What kind of kingdom is being ushered in by this Jesus? Jesus speaks of it as he heads towards the cross, he speaks of this new kingdom coming into being, this new way of being in the world, and that we should take notice, that we should pay attention. There'll be signs to point us to it. And one of the signs Jesus points us to right in this text, right? He calls us to this kingdom that's much different than the kingdom of this world. And he reminds us that this timing, this God's kingdom timing, is very different than the timing of this world. It can be read like a tree. Oh, it's blossoming. It's going to produce leaves. It's going to produce fruit. It'll be done. And it's also the way God shows up. Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, from the very first to the very last, woven into this present time. And both of these ways of time are present here in this text, right? We hear of this natural rhythm, and yet also God is not constrained by that time. Even though us as humans need it to navigate, to get some rhythm and order in our lives, remember God is much bigger and broader than that. And that can give us hope, because it reminds us that all these things that are happening are not fearful for the believer, but actually point us to what God is doing. Reminds us that our redemption is at hand, that things are going to be amazing as we look towards that. We get little glimpses of it all the time, but it will be fully revealed. So then, no matter how much it appears this world is becoming undone, divided, broken apart, God continues to endure. God is here and always will be here. And the powers that appear to be in control, that appear to be dismantling our world, God will be there in that, making things right, making things centered on what God is doing. And we need to be there to raise our hand and to step into that space and to show up. The birth of Jesus ushers in the kingdom. The death of Jesus ushers in the kingdom. The resurrection, the ascension, it all ushers in this new kingdom that does not depend on the powers of this world, the power and the privileges of this world, but rather to what God is doing amongst us. It forces us to rethink about how we show up, physically show up, right? The text says, show up, raise your hand. It wants us to be in the center of what's happening and remind people to be pointed to God, to be centered on God. Where we show up, I mean, there's places that we really need to be that we shy away from oftentimes. What we view as powerful or as important, boy, that's important this season. We fill our calendars and our schedules with all this great stuff. We sometimes lose our centering on God because of it. How shall we show up and use what will be important for us this season? And then what will we let go of? What are those things that have burdened us, weighed down on us, so that we cannot really see and experience that hope? Set it aside for the season. Set it on a shelf. Discard it so that we can truly be part of this hope. That is our challenge. That's our invitation this Lenten season. To truly live in hope-filled time, we must truly experience it completely through God and not this world. And that is my prayer and my challenge for you this week, my friends. God bless.